because this is our first meeting, so I'm not sure if people are going to have. Let's see here. All right, there we go. I just want to make sure, get this going. There's about six students in this group, and I'm expecting a couple other students right away. But what I don't want to waste you guys' time, so I want to kind of get going and introduce the project to you, and kind of tell you what my thoughts are. And then what we would do is, I thought I would share just sort of an introductory PowerPoint presentation with you, and then as people fall in or come, they can pick up on that. And then at the end, we'll have a short discussion, and we'll do a game plan from there. Does that make sense for everybody? And I think maybe after I do this, I'm recording it anyway, so I'm going to make it available to the group, and I'll go through this because it's the PowerPoint, and then we can have a conversation. And then the objective of this meeting is to meet everybody, to meet each other, but also to plan out next steps and what they're expecting from us and what I've committed to them. So why don't I do that? I'll start this off, and I'll share my screen here. Let's see if I've got, there we go. All right, all right. Can everybody see this? Okay. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me fine? Okay, good.
Yes.
All right, great. All right. This has been an interesting journey for me. I've been doing BA 390 for about 5 years. And we always do projects. And this project was, of course, very interesting because it was local. And we got involved with both Home Depot, and we got involved with the industry, and we've got some pretty good legs that have gathered from that. But what I wasn't expecting was a spin-off of this group called the Christmas Tree Marketing Board to approach me about week 8 and ask me for some help. And basically what they had witnessed is the progress we had made in the class. And they thought that we could add value to the whole Christmas tree program. So what I thought I would do is, just for benefit, is to go over just a little, well, our objective here, or the objective is, they have this Christmas Tree Marketing Association, or Christmas Tree Marketing Board. It was formed as a group of concerned people that grow Christmas trees because they've seen their business decline over the last few years. So let me give you, for people that don't know, I'm going to give you a little brief history of Christmas trees in general, and then we can move on from there. Here we go.
A Christmas tree can be found in most American homes throughout the month of December. But where did this tradition come from? And how long has it been a part of the holiday tradition? In the earliest history of Scandinavia, it was traditional during the celebration of the winter solstice, December 21st, to bring an evergreen tree into the home and decorate it. Since the evergreen was the only type of tree that lived through the entire winter, the family saw it as a symbol of continued life. In the 1500s, the practice of decorating an evergreen tree at this time of year was still alive and well in northern Germany, as well as many other parts of Europe. Apples were hung as decorations, which would be an early form of Christmas ornament, and candles were used to light the trees. Other decorations included nuts, pretzels, and paper flowers. The tradition was primarily practiced on mainland Europe until the mid-1800s, when England's Queen Victoria married Prince Albert of Germany. With Albert's arrival in England, the German practice of decorating a Christmas tree quickly spread to both England and America. In less than 10 years, this had become a common practice in both countries. Traditionally, Christmas trees were brought into the home on December 24th, Christmas Eve, and decorated that evening. They were removed from the home on January 6th. It was regarded as bad luck to have a Christmas tree in the home after this date. Modern Christmas trees have kept many of these customs. However, instead of lighting trees with candles, electric lights are normally used because they last longer and are much safer. Modern Christmas trees are decorated with ornaments, candy canes, garland, and tinsel. The top of the tree is usually adorned with a star, or perhaps an angel, both symbols associated with the Christian aspects of the holiday. However, whereas people in older times decorated the tree on December 24th, in modern households, the tree decorating is usually done sometime earlier in December, especially in homes which use artificial trees. For many families, the decorating process might even take place sometime shortly after Thanksgiving, or even on Thanksgiving Day.
That's primarily, for most of you, that's obviously stuff that is old news, because most of us in America celebrate Christmas all the time, I mean, every year and what it is. But I just wanted to give that as a baseline for people. Here's another one I wanted to talk about. This is a short one, too, on Christmas tree farming, because it'll give you kind of the basics of where we're going to head with this project.
Hello, everyone.
Sorry,
I have something to ask you.
I
Will you add your name to join my campaign?
Of the roughly 30 million real trees sold in the U.S. each year, about 25% are harvested in Oregon, 11% in North Carolina, and 10% in Michigan. The rest come from all over the country. While just about every pine, fir, and spruce has held the exalted position of family Christmas tree, the most commonly used are the balsam, Fraser, and Douglas firs.
This is a field of Douglas fir Christmas trees here. They're 2 years old. In this particular block, there's between 3 and 4 million.
The trees grow in the fields for about 8 to 10 years to reach maturity. Once every growing season, a shearing team moves through the field, expertly swinging their blades.
For shearing Christmas trees, you need 3 main pieces of equipment: a machete, clippers, and a leg protector. On this particular tree, we have the top splinted with a bamboo, and that's just to provide a nice straight leader for the tree. And we just follow that line from the top all the way down. When you're shearing a Christmas tree, you have to assess each tree as an individual. It's kind of like a haircut. Not everybody looks good with the same haircut.
Then it's time to cut them down, using a chainsaw with a safer and faster bow bar. And next, mechanical shakers knock the excess needles off the tree. Finally, the trees are sent through the baler to be trussed and twined, and then loaded onto refrigerated trucks for delivery across North America to a tree lot near you.
All right, that's kind of the baseline of the Christmas tree. Doesn't sound too complicated, does it? But the interesting thing I think I want to point out as we move through here is, and I think the most important thing we're going to, as a baseline, to try to understand what's going on here and why these people are so frustrated and why they came to us at Oregon State University, because this is unprecedented. No time in the history of it, there's a bunch of these boards that have been established, the Blueberry Board, the Onion Board. These things are all done through the FDA or through the Department of Agriculture. And none of them, and I did some research, none of them have ever approached a university, especially an undergraduate group, and said, can you experts help us? And I said, well, I'll pick the best people, and we'll see what we can do. So one of the things I just want to point out too is that I didn't never point it out in class is the significance of the Christmas holiday on the United States retail economy. It's hard to overstate how important the Christmas economy is to the overall economy in the United States. And this also makes a lot of sense if you think about it this Christmas because of COVID and coming out of it. I mean, you know, they've reported a lot of, I think they just reported the single largest drop in gross national product in the history of the United States. And so heading into the Christmas season, there's going to be a lot of dynamics that are going to be going on relative to Christmas that a lot of people are going to be depending on. There's also a lot of unknowns still because, you know, I don't know, you know, there's a lot of unknowns on how your classes are going to be structured. I know early on they actually canceled my class because I had one of the larger classes that were in person, but they actually had an online version of 390, which they can give safely. So at least for fall, you know, we're not in business. But anyway, this is the way I wanted to make sure we understood that it's about, and for retailers, one of the reasons they call it, you know, Black Friday, which is right after Thanksgiving, is that's when most retailers get into black. In other words, they lose money all year long, and Black Friday is the day where everybody buys stuff and they move into Christmas. Okay, now again, because you guys are alumni of my class, I don't have to go through a lot of the details we went through in class and stuff. So what I want to show you is before 1990, the channel structure, and after 1990, what's happened to Christmas trees in general, and then what their dilemma is and what they're asking us to do, okay? So before 1990, it was a real sleepy industry. It was a very steady industry, and there were really two channels of marketing. There was the independent tree lot, which was the place you and your family, if you'd go, you know, maybe the day after Christmas, you'd go to a lot in your hometown, and somebody would have had they would have rented out a space somewhere near your town or in your town that was an empty parking lot, or maybe it was a Boy Scout troop, or it could have been a number of different things. And they're set up and they sell you Christmas trees, and that's the way that worked. That's the way the market worked for many years. So the independent guys were a big part of this. And Christmas tree producers produced and then distributed through various distribution channels to these guys and got them to trees. So it was a very sort of a mundane market. The other market was U-cut. Now if you live in Oregon, U-cuts are very common because they grow most of the Christmas trees out here. So wandering out and getting a Christmas tree is no big deal. And plus the prices are very low in Oregon compared to the rest of the country. But Christmas tree demand is directly correlated with the population, as we go. So that was before 1990. Now, after 1990, of course, you guys were being born, and I was witnessing. That's actually how I got out to Oregon, was Home Depot and Lowe's and Costco. These forms of retailing were just entering the U.S. marketplace, and we're going to reshape most of retailing as it stands. And today they've done that, and Christmas trees are no exception to the rule. These large big box retailers moved in, and they because of the value proposition that they had, they started scooping up all the business, and they put independent hardware stores, and they put independent people out of business as a more efficient chain. So there was, right around 1990, when I moved out here, there's a lot of significant channel disruption, and that caused them to do. But now you got to keep in mind that I've had about 6 interviews with the Christmas tree producers. These are the guys that actually grow Christmas trees. And these guys have been doing it for generations. It's in their family. They've been doing it. And up until about 1990, they all made a lot of money. These guys made a lot of money because it was almost like a cartel. They had a few producers. Everybody had their territory. For example, in Oregon, they focus on the Bay Area and LA and Phoenix. And there's a guy down in the big market in North Carolina, moves down to Florida, and of course, New York, and this sort of thing. So you can imagine there's a direct correlation between population and actual demand. So these guys moved in, and then they disrupted the whole thing. Now, this is the big one that I want to make sure that I get across and make sure you guys understand. And that is that, back one. Here, this is the market in 1990. Now I want to go over this because it's really important. You had basically 30 million trees. The demand in 1990 was about 30 million trees a year. And U-Cut was about a 33%, and independents were about 67% of the market. And that was the old sort of the mundane industry. Everybody was making a lot of money. Things were going on, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward to 2020, the big box stores, the market has actually halved. The market's gone from 30 million trees to 15 million trees, and it's gone down by half. The big box stores have picked up 40% of that market, whereas the independent has shrunk from 20 million trees to about 1 million trees, okay, this blue thing. So that's a significant decline in the amount that they've done. And of course, the U-Cut has maintained, they've gone down 20%, but the U-Cut are still in fairly good shape. It's this independent that the Christmas tree people are worried about disappearing from the face of the earth. And they have every right to understand that, because if the trends go the way they're going, they'll be out of business. Now that's bad, because the big box stores, of course, Home Depot and Lowe's and Walmart, they negotiate on volume. So the margins are going down in the industry, right? And the high profit independents are going out. So this is actually something that happened to most retailers 20 years ago. It's just now happening to the Christmas tree people. So this is really, really important. And it was right around 2015 or 2016 where these growers got together and said, wow, we're dying. Is there something we can do? So there's, again, the market factors. There's the changing channel structure. There's an aging population moving through. Millennial moms and are experiencing different patterns of demand. And there's an increased quality for fake Christmas trees. So fake Christmas trees entered the market, and just like anything else, when fake Christmas trees entered the market, they were pretty crappy quality. But the quality of the fake Christmas trees has gotten really, really good, even though they emit smells and you can fold them up, and they're very, very consumer friendly. So in 2016 is when these growers got together and said, we don't want to die. We want to figure out how to grow. So there's a mechanism that's called a checkoff system, and it's relating to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And they do this with a lot of things, like with the watermelons, and they do these with these commodities. What they basically did is they formed this Christmas tree promotion board, which is administered by the United States Department of Agriculture. And what they basically did is they taxed themselves. They voted to put a 15-cent tax on every Christmas tree sold. So all that money goes to the United States Department of Agriculture and is funneled back through a Christmas tree promotion board, which is a functioning entity, which has a director, and they have a thing, and they have their own overhead, etc. So what they did initially was they got together, and what they decided to do is they interviewed conventional advertising agencies, and they hired two of them. One of them was called Concept Farm, and the other one was called Fleshman Hilliard. And over the last 4 or 5 years, they've spent way in excess of $1 million on conventional advertising. And they followed the way, they listened, they followed the rules, and sales continue to go down. So what they're right now is they're just getting mad, right? Because they've invested now, they've poured this money in, and they're not getting returns. They're not getting people are still not buying. I have a little thing on that. Let's see here. Let me just play this for you. Let's see.
Like other livestock and commodities, the Christmas tree industry also has a checkoff program designed to enhance the value and demand for cut Christmas trees like those that we raise here in Montana, with the goal of improving the future of the industry.
The reality is that real Christmas trees have lost 60% of the market share to artificial trees in the last generation. And that has been devastating to the industry. And it has seen the industry get into an oversupply situation because there were just too many real trees with declining demand. 30% of the acreage was lost, and a good deal of growers went out of business during that very difficult period.
By statute, the USDA is now conducting a referendum for eligible producers and importers of Christmas trees to vote on whether to continue the Christmas tree promotion, research, and information order.
The whole point of having the checkoff program is to increase demand, most importantly, to connect with these young adult millennial consumers, to give them an understanding of the reasons to use a real Christmas tree as opposed to an artificial tree, as well as to invest in production research to really solve problems that the industry needs to resolve to remain competitive and efficient going forward.
As for the checkoff assessment, it's 15 cents per tree for both producers and importers.
The whole premise is that everybody pays that same small amount. It costs everyone the same, whether they're large or small. But when the money is pooled together, it gives the industry a resource to do the things that are most important to the industry.
And for more information about the referendum, visit Christmas Tree Promotion.
Okay, so you can see from there how they've invested a lot of money since 2016. And if you talk to these growers, and I've talked to about a dozen of them, they know how many they're growing, and they know how many they're selling, and it keeps going down. And they hired they developed this Christmas tree promotion board who went out and hired these agencies, and the agencies went out and they developed Facebook pages. They developed, they went and got social media in gear, and they've measured likes and, impressions and all this stuff. And they've reported back that everything is hunky-dory with Christmas trees. And the answer is it's not, see? The answer is it's not happening. And so what happened really, and how we got involved as a class, was that a lot of the guys that were involved with the Ponderosa Pine Association not only are involved with that, but also a lot of them have stands of Christmas trees. And they know people with Christmas trees, and Oregon is the biggest Christmas tree people. So they understood, and when they witnessed and apparently it's not a very big state or industry, because when word got around that we were doing cool things with Ponderosa Pine, this is when they approached me. And I guess because we had Home Depot, we had this group process that we got going, and we had this Shark Tank. And so that's how they approached me. And so one of the things that I told them that I thought we could do was that I thought there were enough students that had enough interest, and I was right, because I actually had to turn away some students that would be able to take this project on as possibly an internship of some kind, and spend some time over the next 6 weeks and looking at this project from a bunch of different creative ways. But one of the things that I thought we could deliver as a group, and I'm not sure how we want to organize or how we want to make this thing happen, is that I told them that we could take a focus at independent lots because the big boxes are doing their own thing. We could come up with maybe 6 promotion ideas that could be executed in different parts of the country. The way the Christmas tree people have it, they have it split between West, Midwest, and East. Come up with 6 ideas relating to the way we went through it in BA 390, looking at engagement, retention, monetization, viralization. In other words, rather than just doing the conventional, we're going to get a Facebook page and hope everybody likes us and try to increase the awareness of Christmas trees, what we're going to do is we're going to take it a step further, and we're going to use the same technologies to try to get people interested in increasing the demand and buying more Christmas trees. And in other words, reversing this trend that has been long going on for a long time. And then I thought what we would be able to do is test that, come up with these ideas, test them in the market this season, quantify the results, and then maybe next year have a full rollout with complete funding and that sort of thing. So that was it. This is, I think, I'm trying to remember what this one is this is about this is a short one on, there's actually a debate within the Christmas tree people whether they should keep funding this thing or not because they're not getting their money's worth. So this was a short video kind of promoting that whole idea.
There are a lot of reasons to vote yes in the upcoming referendum concerning whether or not the Christmas Tree Promotion Board should continue its efforts on behalf of our industry. I think one of the biggest reasons to vote yes centers around all the incredibly important research that the Checkov program is funding. In the last 4 years alone, the Checkov program has funded over $600,000 in Christmas tree research. With a multitude of threats facing us each and every day, it's not a stretch to say that this important research is crucial to the very survival of our industry. Without the Checkov program, over $500,000 in research would never have occurred. As everyone in our industry knows, one of our biggest challenges is finding a sustainable year-round labor supply. One particular project, funded by the Checkov program, is showing great promise in helping us deal with that problem. It's studying how drone technology can be used in the Christmas tree industry.
The Christmas Tree Promotion Board has provided us with this incredible technology, and we're just starting to scratch the surface of possibilities. We can take aerial photographs, make maps of farms. We can also use that data to count trees and to size them for inventory purposes. Other options are multispectral imaging. That multispectral imaging allows us to see nutritional problems, insect issues, disease issues before the naked eye can ever detect them. None of that is possible without funding from the Christmas Tree Promotion Board.
The Checkov program is important because of the research that it will provide to our farms. We see a lot of trouble with weed and pest control management in our fields, and that changes from year to year as far as what kind of chemicals and things we need to put on our trees.
The Checkov system is important to us up in Virginia because of all the insect problems we have, and there's no money to do the research other than money from the Checkov system.
It's helping all the farmers across the nation. It doesn't matter if you're on the East Coast or West Coast. I think the Checkov program, if it was voted a no, would impact every grower in ways that they might not even realize right now. I mean, as far as we don't know what insects may affect us, what fungus may affect us.
By pooling our resources through the Christmas Tree Promotion Board, we've been able to fund research at some of the top universities across the country, including Penn State, Michigan State, Washington State, and North Carolina State University. Without funding from the Checkov program, I'm not sure that any of this research would have occurred at any of those universities. Take a moment to think about the implications of that, not just for our industry as a whole, but more importantly, for the future of your business. So what's the cost of voting no and doing nothing? I would argue that the cost would be catastrophic for all of us. I also know that the fake tree industry is fervently hoping that we do indeed vote no in April to disband the Christmas Tree Promotion Board. Why? Well, it's pretty simple. They don't want the competition, but what they do want are your customers, your business, and your future. That's why I'm encouraging you to vote yes in the April 2019 referendum to support the continuation of the Christmas Tree Promotion Board. We need this program because it's the only consistent national funding source for Christmas tree research, and it's the only marketing platform we have as real Christmas tree growers to connect with the American consumer.
We represent 3 generations of Christmas tree growers, and we're voting
yes!
I'm voting yes.
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 I'm voting yes.
Yes.
I'll be voting yes.
So, and they just voted that, but it was one of the slimmest margins ever. So these growers are getting pissed off.
I have a question.
Yeah, Ethan, go ahead.
Who made that video?
That was made by the advertising agency that's being paid by the Christmas Tree Promotion Board, okay? So basically, it's an incestuous circle, right? In other words, and it gets worse. It gets worse. You hit on something really, what happens is they set up these, and the more I get it, I get sick to my stomach, right? Because these Christmas tree guys, all they want to do is earn a living, right? And they get hooked in with this deal, and it's a government regulation, and it is the Department of Ag, right? They tax themselves. They set up an organization with a director and a whole staff, right? They go out and they hire an advertising agency. They're all set up to do this. And basically what they get, I'll send out the link, but if you go to the Christmas Tree Promotion Board website, you can go down and see the deliverables, what these advertising people have done. And they basically set up, you can imagine what they went and they set up Facebook and they did the likes and they went out and they just went and said, everything is great. The world loves, Christmas trees. Meanwhile, sales keep going down, right? So these guys are really pissed off and they're spending all their money and they don't like it. And they're kind of stuck. So the other thing that they do is through regulation is they require an economic, what they call an econometric analysis of the Christmas tree, of the effects of the promotion. Well, first of all, econometrics is I'm not going to say a bullshit, but I mean, I come from the University of Chicago. It's really a sub area and the data that goes in is so crappy from Christmas trees that but they make them do this study and they keep telling the Christmas tree people that everything's fine. Sales are going up. Well, these guys know that sales are going down. So that's where they go, let's find a group that can not bullshit me, that can actually come through with some resulting ideas, right? So that's when they came to me and I said, well, I've got students in here that aren't shy, learned how to market, can probably put their arms together and figure this thing out in a fairly short period of time on how to reverse the trend. So what they've given us is they've given us the task of going to try to find a couple, 4 or 5 or 6 cool promotional ideas that we could have an independent lot execute this season to try to increase their demand. And I'm thinking, well, this is a no-brainer. It isn't necessarily a no-brainer because the data they have is very shitty. The organization of the independent owners is also very, it's very spotty. When you guys have a chance, when you meet these owners, they're biased as hell about how business should be run. So it's a classic industry. But one of the things that I think we could do is make such a big difference looking at this thing independently and going to them with some unique programs. Because the other thing that I can see doing this is, they've spent over $7 million as an industry over the last 4 years. And if we do a great job, what I've already told them is, I said, well, for $3.5 million, Oregon State can do the whole thing. I mean, we could set up a center for, Christmas tree marketing and run the damn thing and hire all you guys. I mean, that's kind of the idea that I'm thinking about, is that as I look through and I see and I see what these other things have done, like the High Brush Blueberry Group and the Watermelon Group, and they look at they've got a Cattlemen's Beef Association they did the same thing from, and the same crap comes out, and they said they did a study and demand for beef has never been better. Now, you guys it's like, are you shitting me? All you got to look at is plant-based. Come on, but it's this sort of pay money. We give it to the government. They give you a bunch of bullshit back and sales keep going down, you see? And it's one of these things where they're mad. And so one of the things that I wanted to do here was I wanted to kind of give you a lay about, give you kind of what I thought about the industry, but also lay out a couple things I think might be worthwhile looking at. And then what we would do is just break and maybe introduce ourselves to each other, have a little conversation, and then kind of map out sort of, what we kind of want to do, how we want to structure it. And then I can explain to you some other people that are also involved. But the one thing the thing I just looked at initially, and the reason I took the project, because I thought we could make a big difference, but B, I think this COVID and this pandemic has drained a lot of people totally, and it's put a lot of crap into the world, right? And I think the more it goes on, and it looks like it's going to go on, the more people are going to demand some return to normalcy or some idea of this whole, I just want things to get back to normal, and I'm willing to pay a premium so I can remember what it was like when I was normal, that kind of thing. So, and again, I don't want to bias the group, but I did have this last video. This is the last slide, but I wanted to play this on nostalgia, this whole idea of nostalgia marketing. Let's see, come on. There we go.
Have you ever noticed how some people just light up a room from the moment that they walk in?
The temperature of our favorite time of the year. The sight of the landscape of the environment we grew up in. The taste of a home-cooked meal. The emotion of an old song that we once listened to on repeat for a month straight. All of these things elicit a feeling so unique and powerful that it appears to transcend time and space. It brings us into a state of being that cannot be described with anything other than just this one word. It is nostalgia. Nostalgia is one of the most unique and valuable capacities of the human mind. It is the closest thing we have to time travel. It gives us an opportunity to experience moments of our life while being completely free from our normal anxieties and uncertainties. In general, every moment in life carries with it a set of fears, anxieties, and stresses. We are always concerned with making the next moment perfect, and we worry about what tomorrow may or may not bring. But nostalgia frees us from this. When we experience nostalgia, we are given an opportunity to feel a moment as it truly was, void of any fear or uncertainty. This is because the circumstances that we worried about at the time have already passed. At the time, our worries lied in the uncertainty of what the next several days, months, or years would bring. But those days have since passed. We have lived through the times that we were worried about, and here we are, doing just fine. Ironically, letting the state of nostalgia carry us into the past can remind us of the importance of appreciating the present. It shows us that our desire to perfect all the moments of life is foolish and unnecessary. It shows us that our fears and worries regarding the future are irrational and insignificant. And it shows us that we are resilient and adaptable, and that no matter what life throws at us, we can sustain and continue to create meaningful, positive moments. Nostalgia provides clarity in that even the moments that may have been stressful and did not seem so good at the time can still carry a sense of great value and appreciation when viewed through the lens of hindsight. This very moment in time, despite if there are things going on that may seem negative or stressful, will likely still have a feeling of nostalgia attached to it when you are reminded of it in the future. And if this is true, why not appreciate it right now as well? Thank you for watching. If you found enjoyment and value...
All right, so that was just kind of my shtick on that, and that's the end. And I'm going to stop share, and then okay, good. And we got a full crowd here, and so what? And I've recorded that, and I'll stop recording it now for everybody's purpose. Stop recording.